When you're ready. Action.
And action, for real. We weren't actioning even before. On the scene with Dush
and Guus.
A book club, but for movies. Hi guys! Welcome back to another episode of On the Scene with Dush
and Guus.
Yeah, you see I've done it.
It sounds good.
Switch it up on them. Come on. So good to have you guys back. I hope you've been enjoying so far. I hope if you've been enjoying that you've taken a chance to subscribe to our channels and subscribe and follow and put on your notification bells. And shared it with friends who you think would be interested, because what we're trying to create is a book club, but for movies. So today we are going to be speaking about the amazing classic, The Shawshank Redemption.
Movie mzee, by the way.
Sana kama wewe. Sana, an oldie but a goodie. I know I'm the new age
Are you now?
film buff of this fantastic duo. I'm glad. But I really loved this film. I really loved this film. Few facts about it. It's a 1993 film. And if this is the first time you're watching, we use the IMDb rating, which is the
International Movie Database.
Come on with the facts. Mm-hmm. It's just an amalgamation of all the films that have been made, and it's a great place to be able to understand rating from a perspective of not only the body of work of the actors and director, but largely across board with all other films. It has a 9.3 rating, which so far has been the highest rating I have seen. Have you seen anything higher?
It is actually the highest.
Yeah.
It's number one in the top 250 IMDb movies.
Can you
in
believe?
the ratings, and it has been there for like since I think
time immemorial.
Not time immemorial, but like maybe the early noughties, maybe the early 2000s.
Early noughties, because the 90s were naughty. You said
it's
the
called,
early noughties.
That's what it's called.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a thing.
Early 2000s is called the early noughties.
You've been living for a very long time, my friend. So, which is interesting considering it's number one with a 9.3 rating, but did not win a single Oscar.
And why I was mentioning that early notice thing is because people only started appreciating the film later on. Mm-hmm. It wasn't well appreciated when it came out.
At all, actually. It
actually gained traction later on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it
became
aged
the classic that it is now.
It aged very well.
Like me, thanks.
Hey, fine wine.
Oh.
Hey, come on.
You know what it
Tall, dark, handsome. Come on. So we're going to get into it. Would you like to just walk us through a brief breakdown?
I think you're the one who recently stumbled upon this gem. So
much obliged. First of all, I sauntered. I don't stumble nowhere, honey.
Even after tequila.
Oh, shh. Don't tell anyone. So,
tequila, we need sponsors.
Hi, please. Jose Cuervo, it's us. So, brief breakdown of the plot of this movie.
Yeah.
The movie centers, at the beginning, around, majority, the entire movie centers around Andy Dufresne, played by Tim Robbins.
Yeah.
Yeah. How he was convicted of murder of his wife and her lover and ended up at Shawshank prison, right? And made friends with the amazing Red, who is played by Morgan Freeman. This is the first movie that Morgan Freeman narrated. And if you know Morgan Freeman's body of work, he's narrated quite a bit after that. It set the pace. It set the pace for his narration game and journey and career.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much the synopsis of the plot. It follows his journey, the tribulations he had to, in the end, his escape from prison, right? Which was such a beautiful moment. I think it made the movie. His escape kind of made the movie for me. The first time you watch it, it's very, what? Because you think that he's committed suicide.
Yeah.
Then turns out, man, a bad man.
Next time. See you guys.
Catch me if you can. You know what I'm saying? That's another movie for a later date. So, that's pretty much, it's just a journey. And it's also, one of the things Tim Robbins said about this movie that I found so beautiful, he said it was a movie about a non-sexual romantic relationship between two men, which were Andy Dufresne and Red.
We see it again.
Yes. And I think
undertones nicely. And it was
beautiful.
Not forced. So authentic,
Yeah.
I liked how it developed from, thinking he's a weird guy to now not being able to be separated from this guy, and in such an ugly setting, prison, with all
and that
those,
prison itself actually with the undertones and all the
So again, it's celebrating Mandem love, which we all love to see.
Yes, and we should celebrate much more of.
Always.
Right? So the movie begins with Andy, of course, going to Shawshank. And there are a lot of small, statements that are made in the course of the film that kind of allude to what's going to happen with the escape.
Yeah.
So he gets to prison and he's kind of just keeping to himself. People feel like he's kind of weird. He seems very snobbish. That's what they assume of him. And in prison, it's the sisters who take a liking to him.
Yeah.
So the sisters at this point were homosexual men who were in the prison. Red said they were not homosexual.
They were actually not homosexual.
They weren't homosexual. They were just opportunistic.
Yeah.
It was, They
just take what they want. That's what.
Right.
That's how they did it. And I guess in the environment, there's only so much you can take other than another man. So
they really came down hard on Andy and gave him a hard time. But you see now his story kind of his redemption story of sorts kind of beginning once they have they need the paint, the roof needs to be painted. And so it was tarred, it wasn't even painting, they needed to tar the roof. And so Red organized for a few of his friends to be the people to get up to do it. And it was a summer job, so you get to be outside during summer. And that's when you see I think one of the big themes for me in this movie was about Andy going out of his way to take care of his fellow man, right? And to give them opportunities to feel like free men, even if they were incarcerated.
And maybe just to add on to that, without wanting anything in return. I think he was very, at least the character he portrayed, he was very selfless in a lot of the things he did.
True.
Denoted by the fact that even when guys were drinking beer on the roof, he didn't want to drink the beer. He just wanted to chill.
Had you thought about why he didn't drink the beer? Because it hit me that, remember, the reason that he got arrested was because he was drunk outside his wife's house, and then he couldn't remember some chunks of time. Actually, so I thought that after that, because he says, the minute he's asked, he's given a beer by one of the guys, he says, I stopped drinking, like I don't drink anymore, something to that effect. So he was doing it purely because he said, when he was asking for the drink, he said, I want a few bottles of suds for the men, which are beers, right?
Yeah.
So that was the first instance of seeing how he would go above and beyond for the people around him, for nothing, as you said, for nothing in return. Yeah. And then it also showcases him, another factor about how he was, giving the men chances to feel like free men again. He was also giving himself those opportunities. So by taking the chance to, by asking or requesting or, showcasing his brilliant mind with all things finance and getting the opportunity to do the tax documents for this, for one of the, what are they called? That's the warden and then the officers.
The officers, yeah.
The prison officers. Mm-hmm. So by taking the opportunity to like do his taxes so that he could be able to hide the money he'd been gifted in his brother as well, he'd been bequeathed.
Bequeathed.
I tell you. Also, this is it's an English speaking show, as you can tell. And that was off the cuff, but they just came from my mind. They haven't even written it down. So he was able also to, relive his life outside prison and, do what he was so good at out there.
Yeah.
And it's also a theme that carries through in different things he does, going out of his way to write to the prison's board about books for the library, right? To, doing something for the men to help them feel like free men, even if, but for a moment, and doing the same for himself. Right? And I think that's a theme that carries through the movie and it carries through beautifully. This is probably one of the most beautiful movies I've watched. Like, beautiful in all ways I can think of. Beautiful in the way they film it. Beautiful in the relationships. Even, for example, with someone like Brooks. Yeah, who was the old guy in prison who he didn't want to leave because, there's a quote that Red said, and I'll read it for us. He said, the man's been here for 50 years. This is all he knows. In here, he's an important man, an educated man. Outside, he's nothing. They almost romanticized prison in a way. And not the entirety of it, but the relationships built in prison.
There's another thing Red also said. He said, first you hate these walls, then you get used to them, then you become dependent on them, which I think touches on the institutionalization that happened with Brooks, especially, which was kind of sad. It was really sad, actually, that part. And even, and not only for Brooks, but also for him. Because you remember, he had also been there at the beginning of the movie, it was, he had already done 20 years.
20 years, then
at 30 years.
We're talking about Red.
Yeah. He was up for parole, then again at 40 years. Man, if you just sit down and think about even a decade, like a decade behind those walls with all that going on around you, it's ridiculous. And now Red, of course, even him in there, he's important. He's a big man. He's a man who can get you something, So I think another thing that made this movie so good is the fact that it had universal themes, meaning that whether you had ever been to prison or not, whether you love or whether you love action or you love, like it had so many things that could just tie the movie together. Like I've said, one of them was love, which is it. Maybe you wouldn't say this was the dominant theme, but if you actually just look at Red and Andy.
You don't think it was the dominant theme?
I don't think it was the dominant theme.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, the dominant theme was just someone trying to do his best to get through a situation. That's what I saw. And I feel like all these other guys, and if you see even at the end when they were telling the story, their stories about Andy Dufresne. Andy Dufresne he did him. No matter what happened, whether he was in jail or whether he was, because that's people were calling him a rich white guy with a silver spoon up his ass. But that's just how he was. He didn't care. He didn't change it. Whether he became friends with Red or not, even before, he was just weird. Weird.
Yeah.
In his own way.
In his own sense. Yeah.
But he remained true to himself. And he found a way to get himself through the situation all through.
Yeah.
I feel like the love part is a supporting theme all through. Just the same way life in prison is a supporting theme all through, and the struggles in prison. Actually, but for me, Andy was the main guy.
He was.
All through. True. And you saw it all through. Because when he came into that prison, the prison kind of conformed to him.
Andy and not the other way.
And not the other way.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people go into prison from what we've heard and they conform to the system. And you can even see when Red talks about Red and Brooks, eventually when they were released, and it was very sad. Like you don't know how to be a free man. You have to ask for permission to take a piss. You're so used to that system. You conform to it so much that when you come out there, you don't even know how to be a person. But when Andy from the time he stepped into the prison, he was one of the few new prisoners who was always talking back, like when that guy was killed the first night. The fat guy was killed the first night.
Yeah.
He asked, what was his name? He was the only guy who asked that. And that's him. But logic would dictate that you should keep quiet because you're a new fish, as they used to call them, Keep quiet, don't say anything, don't cause any trouble. But for him, when he wanted something, he wanted it.
Yeah.
And you see it, that theme is repeated all through the movie, even when he starts working in the warden's office. There's another point where he's trying to make guys feel free. When he plays the opera music, and he locked the door and he didn't care that he might lose anything and everything that he has accumulated in that system. But he had to be himself. Yeah. And later he was telling Red, music is one of those things.
Oh, yeah.
It's in here.
Yes.
And it's in here. And they
can
can never
take it away from you. That was a beautiful line. Yeah.
So I think for me, the theme is this guy being himself and getting through this. He knew he was innocent. Guys were telling him, you're not innocent. At some point, he kind of conformed kidogo. You could see that like the system was trying to get to him. But when I think he got a second wind, when he started doing his own things, the taxes and everything, and then finally when the young guy came to prison and told him this story about someone who actually
claimed to have committed the crime and got away with it.
Exactly, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's when it clicked for him that, oh shit.
I'm still an innocent man.
I'm still an innocent man, and I need to
It's not just what everyone here says, because Red had said that everyone here thinks they're innocent. It's true, I really am. Sometimes if you've been there for 19 years, it's easy to forget, huh?
Very.
It's easy to forget. I can't.
So for me, that was the more dominant theme.
And I understand that fully
just
now.
Be yourself, like, regardless of what the fuck is going on around you, or
all
the noise,
the noise,
you know. And I think he did that all through, and I think that endeared him even more to the guys. And if you notice, the guys who were themselves, like that guy who was killed, the young guy who he educated and helped get a GED. Yeah. That guy was also himself. When he came there, he was a hothead, a young guy.
And that's why they said they liked
telling this guy, hey, you old guys, what are you doing? No. But they liked him because he was himself all through.
Yeah.
And he didn't change for shit.
For nobody.
You know. So I feel like for me, that was the more dominant thing.
Actually, I agree with you fully. Now that you've explained it so eloquently, I fully agree with you.
Yeah.
That, it was truly, I think it was a movie about being yourself and how being yourself wins. Even if it takes time, even if you're in the trenches, being yourself actually, it matters. It means something, and there's only one you. So don't just, conform.
Yeah, but I think there's allowed to be more than one theme. I think
maybe just the dominant
like
one?
books are also like open to interpretation, Like you can watch this and be like,
But I'm not saying that love is not a theme. It's just like what I think the dominant theme now makes sense. It's like love was a developing theme. Because you see, it wasn't that it began, but from the get-go, you could tell that Andy was just being himself, right? And he was being honest and showing up as his true self. Love was a developing thing.
Okay.
The non-romantic love was a developing theme in the course of the movie, and you see it in different instances, maybe just being illuminated. Hey, my English this episode is doing very well. Right?
It's a movie you love. It's dear to you. But remember, it's an old movie. Thank you.
Old is good.
Yep, always.
Okay. You've mentioned a few quotes that you said that you really enjoyed. Could you pinpoint others that you...
Oh, a few quotes. Can I remember really quotes?
No, you don't have to quote them exactly. Just
the words. Okay, I loved the scene that you've mentioned when they were tarring the roof.
Yeah.
And of course, Morgan Freeman's narration of that scene, Wow. Like this movie was a tearjerker, like there were moments when it was emotional, like you can actually feel these guys just want some sun on their back, like a nice cold beer,
So they were tying their own roofs, when he said that in his narration, and
they couldn't have even known, So I feel like that whole narration was wonderful. There was also an exchange in the cell when the warden was filling out Andy before he starts his job, and he had taken his Bible, so he asked him so what's your favorite Bible verse? And he said something about you never know when the master is
coming.
Yes. So I loved that exchange, and the fact that eventually he said, salvation is found in this book, and his salvation was actually in that book.
It was
via the pickaxe, So that was also really dope. I think the Brooks part, I think it was dope because again it was heartbreaking.
It was. It really, really was. Yeah.
Yeah, and it really makes you think
about institutionalization.
Yeah, anywhere, not only in prison, because he was a very important man in there. But when he went out,
50 years
and
is a long
it was
time.
such a, I don't know, they really knew how to draw you in this movie, Like you are watching a movie, 1 minute is violence, then the next minute you're like, oh my God, I feel so bad, or I feel so good, or I feel so it really took you through the motions.
Yeah.
Then seeing Brooks's Chicoleko legs, walking on the streets, nearly being hit by a car.
Yeah. And we were saying that when he was young, he'd only seen one motorcycle. And now he was saying it's so busy, and I was thinking Sembuse, and if you think about it now,
And they brought us, I don't know if it's the storytelling, I don't know if it's the script, I don't know if it's the actors, or if just a mix of everything.
Meshed so perfectly.
As you said, it's a beautiful movie. Yeah,
There's also a line by Red when Sorry, now for one of the lines, other than the ones that you've mentioned, which I also really love, there's a line that Red says when they find out that Andy has escaped prison, and he said, some birds aren't meant to be caged. Their feathers are just too bright. Yep. I found that very beautiful. I thought that was a very beautiful. It's a very emotive movie. It's beautifully written, and also I think the actors as well. Some facts in the book. Red was a white Irishman.
Oh, okay.
So initially, when they were casting, the original cast options were, they had Clint Eastwood, they had Robert Redford, they had Robert Duvall, they had Gene Hackman, they had Harrison Ford, they had Paul Newman, who are all men who are white and were in the right age. They were in the right age. So actually, in the first scene when Andy and Red are interacting, Andy asks Red, "Why are you called Red?" And he said, "Maybe it's because I'm Irish." And then he laughs at it, and it was an inside joke. Yeah. But now when it came to the actual, when Frank Darabont bought the rights to the movie, he had envisioned Morgan Freeman the entire time. So that's why he chose him specifically. He was like, "I know it's supposed to be a white Irishman, but you're the one who you select."
Nice.
And I feel like and I feel like those choices, because even when it came to Tim Robbins, I think there was even a time they wanted Tom Hanks in that role. They were different. There was Tom Hanks. There were a few other young actors who they would have wanted in his place. But I think the chemistry between them and the way, I feel like they carried those roles they weren't trying to va-va-voom them. They were trying to embody. So it felt like one of those movies that's like a quiet storm. Yeah. It's not, even the scenes that are maybe fast-paced are still, there's a lot of, it's those movies that you feel here.
Visceral.
It's visceral. It's visceral. You feel it deep in your gut, and that's why it's a tearjerker.
Yeah.
There are a lot of gut-wrenching moments. They deal with a lot of issues. They deal with suicide. They deal with institutionalization. They deal with rape in prisons. So it's a lot of tough issues they are tackling. They deal with wrongful imprisonment, right? They deal with the corruption within the prison system. And they do it in a way that is, it's kind of breathtaking. I feel like it's taking my breath away. Yeah. They also have that bias of having watched a movie most recently. So I'm still in it so much, but it felt like the way they carried those characters was perfect. I hear one of the facts I read was also Tim Robbins actually went into just a mock, what do you call it? The imprisonment when you're alone. Solitary imprisonment. Like he went into solitary confinement a few times to try and understand how it fucks with a man's psyche, right? And of course he was saying like, of course I'm still a free man, so I know I have the bias of being a free man, but I wanted to understand what a man goes through after being there for 2 months, right? How that must, completely change and warp your perspective, even when you've been trying so hard to be yourself, right? In the course of no matter what shit life is throwing at you.
That's why they call it breaking a man. Those are the techniques they used to break. So you see, like for him, he was a very strong character. So for example, putting him in the hole for a month, a week, or whatever time period, eventually you crack. Eventually you say, okay, sawa, stakurudi hapa, let me conform. And that's why that character is so brilliant, because he stayed firm.
Yeah, sturdy.
To what he truly was.
Yeah.
I know it's a movie, but anyway, it's an ode to being who you are. So,
let me ask you another question. Being a man and watching that movie, you see, it's like, for example, there's a movie we're going to discuss that I relate to, because a lot of the themes there are personal to me.
Yeah.
Being a man and watching a movie like this, do you think your experience is maybe like how does it, how do you view it from an experience of being a man watching something like that, with the bromance, with the male strife, with even if those situations you haven't necessarily been through them exactly as they are, but with the male experience? How was your perspective?
I don't know. I'll be honest. When I watched the movie the first time, I just thought it was a good movie without all those themes and everything. Like even love between men was such a like far-fetched thing, like in my head. But upon watching it and of course getting older, getting better quality friends and being exposed to different perspectives, I think you you get to appreciate it more.
Yeah.
And especially like in my own life, the value of steady and sturdy friendships, you know, and especially of the male variation, you know.
Yeah.
So, of course, when I watched it first, it was movie.
Yeah.
It's a great movie, you know.
I like it.
But
Picasso.
now,
okay, I like it, Picasso.
you know, like now you can dissect it and say, oh my God, this was ahead of its time, and this was this, and this was this, and this was that, and I've learned so much, and you know, like I don't know, it's just things like being vulnerable, you know, amongst men.
Yeah.
Just vulnerability and being able to say, hey, Saiswezi, I can't do this right now, or help me here.
Help me.
Or can I, you know.
Just showing up even.
Yeah, or just showing up
and being there.
I think those themes come out more now when I watch it now.
In
But
retrospect.
when I was younger, when I watched it, I was just like, this is a great movie. Yeah, and I think maybe this is like a more touchy one, the homosexuality part. I think growing up, homosexuality was introduced only in that way. You thought that's the only way it happened, in a forceful way.
In a forceful way, right.
So a lot of us grew up being for homophobes.
Yeah.
And it's not because we want to hate people. It's just because what we've seen. What you've seen from the screen to the homes.
Okay.
It's the same thing, you know. Like, yeah, these guys are evil, or these guys take by force, or these guys. So if you hear, as a guy, if you hear someone is uni homo, what you think first is like, you know. So it's there's a lot. This movie actually has a lot.
It's
just that this is a movie show. So we won't really delve into that. But yeah, it's one of those things. That's how we were introduced to some of these concepts. Because growing up, we didn't know what a homo was until we knew. And when we knew it from TV shows and movies that had the guts to show it at that time. You know, you think about the sisters. And you just think these guys they're not even homosexual, but
and it's a negative depiction of the LGBTQIA plus community. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
that's really interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And
it's also
you find if you try and look back at how many movies had that
theme at that time.
That time.
You know, now
now it's too many.
Now, at least, luckily, we have a lot of representation, but then it wasn't. And if it was, it came out in very gritty scenes like that.
Exactly.
It's also, there's one, speaking about just the bromance. Yeah. In the end, before the credits, the movie is dedicated to a man called Alan Green.
Yeah.
And Alan Green was the agent and really good friend of Frank Darabont, and he'd passed away. Yeah. So I love the fact that the theme also was running into even real life. For them,
and I don't know if I'm confusing. Was Frank Darabont about to quit directing? Was he the one who was about to quit directing? Roy, I don't know if you're. He was the one who was about. No, it's not him. It's not him. Yeah, he almost gave it to another person. Yeah, but he also had a good friendship with Stephen King, and he bought them for cheap. And he sent him 5Gs.
Sent him a 5G check, and then when the movie came out, Stephen King sent him a note. He mailed the check to him and sent him a note and told him, in case you ever need bail money, love Steve. So I love there are so many themes of male and male relationships all around, not just within the. I was being told that. Was I being told? Why am I saying I'm being told? It's because when I'm reading something, I'm assuming the person is.
Someone is narrating to you like Morgan Freeman.
I hear voices.
Just your own code, your own theme.
There are only like 2 women in this entire movie.
Yeah.
And one of them was Rita Hayworth, who was in the actual movie. And
the actual Rita Hayworth.
And she was in the film. Yeah. And there was it 2 actually? Was it just 1? Because they mention women, they mention wives of different people, but I think it may just have been Rita.
And you know that I've seen in the chat rooms, that's a complaint.
Is
that
it?
Some people had, like, there were no women in this movie.
I think that's sometimes when someone views a movie that way, sometimes it's limiting in that it's important to understand the entirety of the movie and the purpose behind. Like I think maybe if you listen and or watch this episode, once you've been able to understand, the depth to which that theme runs through, it wasn't exclusion for the sake of exclusion. It was exclusion because of the story, right? And sometimes I think I'm not going to say it's a necessity, but I think it's important to carry movies as they are and for the merits that they have, because sometimes forcing things on things just to say that there is inclusion.
There's inclusion,
sometimes can even water down a theme.
For sure.
And the theme here was a lot of bromance and male relationships and the bonding and formation of those friendships and relationships.
And the actual book was called Rita Hayworth.
Yes,
and the Shawshank
and the Shawshank Redemption.
So it's
do you know
really
why
nice.
they removed the Rita Shawshank part?
Yeah, why?
So many models and like women were auditioning for the role of Rita Hayworth to the point that it had watered down the entire movie. So they were like, I think we might have to remove this part and focus on the actual, because they assumed it was going to be like a big role. And the thing is, it wasn't really like, a very big role.
It wasn't. It was like a snippet.
It was a snippet.
Best,
so they ended up just
But I love the fact,
it.
I really love it when they sample or show another movie within a movie.
Yes.
I love that
Yeah.
shit. I don't know why it really jazzes me so much,
Yeah. Bestie, what movies would you recommend to people to watch that are similar to?
Wow, is there anything
to
similar
Shawshank?
to Shawshank
Or maybe
Redemption?
done by the same director, Frank Darabont, that you also think someone should take some time to
He's
watch?
done a lot. Can I even remember all those movies?
Green Mile.
We just talked about that now. Green Mile is a good movie.
And this, first of all, Shawshank Redemption was his directorial debut.
Yeah.
This was, to think that this was his first movie, that's wow, right? But he also did the Green Mile.
Yeah.
So, which I haven't watched because
You haven't watched
New
the
Age.
Green Mile?
I haven't watched Green Mile.
You see what I'm talking about?
I should add it to
reach these kids? Oh my goodness.
I'm about to watch a shitload of movies because of this
Please do.
show, right? So
Educate yourself.
I'm adding this. So we're at the Green Mile.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Which other one, Roy? I'm sure you have them at your fingertips.
The Mist.
I have
The Mist. I
Mist
haven't
the
watched The
series.
Mist. Oh, I haven't watched The Mist, by the way.
I watched the series. There was a series that came out. I started it, but at some point I tapered out of the series called The Mist. It's about the mist that goes into a town and then kind of makes people a bit. Yes. I watched a series.
When guys were turning into zombies, or were they?
There's something that's like
Some
like them. Or-
Oh, damn. He's the one who actually did Walking Dead also.
Walking Dead. What?
The series.
The series Walking Dead.
Yeah, that's Frank Darabont.
I haven't watched any other than now that we know Walking Dead,
Yeah.
which I'll say, please watch. Just try it.
I've watched
quite a number
I've watched
of-
like a season of Walking Dead. I actually love zombies.
It was-
Anything with zombies, I love. I
You
always
would
give it
enjoy
a chance.
You would enjoy it. You can
But
tell those
I
people haven't
think-
showered in a very long time, and
Yeah.
it made me struggle for a bit. Like, people need to shower. I need people to shower. I need you to wash your ass. But you know, Walking Dead, the world is over. So
Yeah.
tea for tough. Like, are we showering or are we,
Have you watched Double Tap?
No. What's Double Tap?
What's this guy? What's this weird nerdy looking guy? Jesse Eisenberg. He's done 2 movies for zombies in America.
Wait, the one that was
It's on Netflix.
The one
They're
that was
on
like
Netflix, both of them.
what do you call it? When movies are trying make a theme really funny and it's a serious theme. Spoof.
No, it's not a spoof. It's actually a zombie movie, and it's a
Zombieland.
There are actually 2 of them. Yeah.
Zombieland.
Yeah,
Is that
there's
the one?
the first one, and then there's Zombieland Double Tap. There are 2 of them.
Or Double Tap is a Zombieland movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are 2 movies. The one for rule number 1, cardio.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
like,
I enjoyed the
always have
first one.
speed.
I enjoyed the
There's a
first
second
one.
one which is also really good.
But there's also another one that he acted in where it was him and his girlfriend. Was it Jesse Eisenberg? Who, by the way, he plays a really good villain. By the way, yeah, he's
Brilliant. He also has range.
Yeah, and he irritates so much. I even hate his face. I even hate his face.
We'll discuss him.
Yeah, we'll discuss him in depth.
Soon.
Soon come.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
don't.
anyway, watch Green Mile at
I will.
least.
I'll try.
Catch up with your ancestors.
And you you watch Walking Dead.
I watched a season.
I mean, like the body of.
I'll watch. I'll try.
If I'll try, you'll try.
Ni refu ama ni-
It's not. It's like it's long. get to where
That
you
thing
can.
has like
If you get
55 seasons.
No,
Amma.
it's not like Criminal Minds. I think it's like 5 or 6. I got to like 5.
Okay.
And it's on, I think, the Flicks.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll check it out.
Yeah.
For sure.
I don't have any recommendations within that body of work. I think just Morgan Freeman as a narrator.
Yeah, I think just watch anything which has Morgan Freeman in it. I think that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Like that's just
he's brilliant,
a
and he's
hell of
always
an
been
actor.
old, and
Yeah.
he's still alive, which is great. I think we should celebrate. We should celebrate his life. Mans has been alive for a very long time. Mans was old during.
Oh, let me remind you of like a funny scene in that
Please.
movie. Maybe you missed it.
Please.
But the first time when Morgan Freeman, or Red rather,
Yes.
was going to the parole board and they
rejected him.
Did you see the picture of him as a young man?
First of all, do you know who that is? I'm about to blow your mind. The guy in the picture is Alfonso Freeman, his son.
His son. Of course, that's not Morgan Freeman.
Oh, like the
That's
fact that
not
it's
Morgan
not
Freeman.
him.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was laughing. Like, first of all, who is this? Who is this? I don't know why.
Because
I really cracked up.
they can't find a younger photo of him.
Exactly.
I'm sorry that it took a while to Fikami. It's taken a while, but it's arrived.
Anyway.
It's arrived.
Yeah. Guys, Shawshank Redemption is one hell of a movie.
It is. I know we've made it seem very serious. It is, but it's beautiful. I think the one word I'd use for that movie is just beautiful. It's just a beautiful, beautiful movie.
Guys, sikila siku pepeta.
Yeah.
Sikila kitu action.
Or just, it's not even for the babes, it's not just laugh for. Like, hey, what was
zingine
that?
napendeni stories are love, but mix it up a bit. Enrich your life, guys.
Recommendations. What have you watched recently, or what do you think people should definitely put on their watch list?
I don't know. Maybe Forrest Gump. Because you know, it's maybe on the other spectrum because it's a bit more happy, but it also has moments of sadness. But it's a very, very good movie. I think that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, even if it's outside of the realm of anything related, because mine is very on the other side of
as always.
One of my, and I don't know why it's not in season 1, but it'll definitely be in season 2, The Prestige. For sure. That movie, I don't know how I missed it, but also I have that recently watched bias. What were you calling it?
Recency bias.
Recency bias. I have it this week.
But let me ask you something.
Yeah.
What qualifies for an old movie? Or what qualifies a movie to be old enough to be referred to as
now it may be 20 years.
Because Prestige is 2005, 2006.
So that's old, yeah? Okay,
that's
so
old. And
it's
I
an old
remember
movie.
I was telling you, that's an old movie.
Of the movies that I love, that's the oldest one.
Now you're joining the league.
But now you see I love Shawshank.
Extraordinary gentlemen.
Yes, here I am. Gentlewoman, woman, lady,
gentle
fine
person.
thing. Oh gosh, I'm tired. So The Prestige 2006, one of probably top 3 best movies I've ever watched in my life. Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman. The storyline is absolute perfection. You do not see it coming, you don't see it going, and you don't see it surrounding you. You are just go along for the ride, because it's gonna blow your mind.
Mind blasting.
And you know me, I'm the kind of person who loves preempting. I love figuring out clues. With that one, I did not see it. Like, I did not see it coming.
Yeah, that's a brilliant movie. Brilliant movie.
So good. The rating is like...
Hugh Jackman. That's another underrated
range
actor.
Because of Prisoners, because if you think.
Yeah. From Prisoners to, World's Greatest Showman.
To what's
Les Miserables.
Les Miserables.
That guy is brilliant.
Did you say I just heard in French?
Oui. the only French I know.
Comme ça, bonsoir. It was directed by Christopher Nolan, the Christopher Nolan.
The one and only.
With him, there are a lot of movies I could go on and on about. He's a brilliant director. It has an 8.5 rating, which is also quite high when it comes to IMDb.
Which, The Prestige?
The Prestige.
Yeah, that's quite
definitely high. Get on it. Watch that movie. I think it's on the Flix currently, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hi, Netflix. Call us.
Yeah.
We love you. Yeah, and I think that's it, guys, for us on the scene this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you interact with us in the comment section. If you get to tell us about your thoughts, tell us how you felt about it. Guys, I'd love to hear your perspective after watching it. Have you watched it then and now? Are you watching it now for the first time? What's your experience with it? It's a beautiful movie. And I'd love to hear. Let's interact with you guys in the comment section. Please, if you haven't subscribed to the page so far and you're enjoying our content, subscribe. If you haven't hit our ding notification bell, please do. If you haven't liked this video, if you've enjoyed it, please like it, give it a thumbs up. It helps with our algorithm. Yeah, you have mathematics. And we'd love to interact with you guys more. Tell us what you watched and you'd love us to watch and discuss. And as we've mentioned before, this is a book club, but for movies. So we'd really love to get you guys on board and get to interact with you. Thank you so much for watching. See you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye, guys.
On the Scene was filmed at Nyumba Cinema, located at Roslyn Riviera Mall. Give them a call for a cozy private experience at the movies. On the Scene with Dush
and Guus.
A book club, but for movies.